Okay,
Okay.
we're good. Hi, my name is Robert McKenzie. Currently living in Canada, in the province of Quebec. It's a long story to get me here. Anyway, I'll start at the beginning. I was born in New Zealand, still a New Zealand citizen, but a Canadian resident. Um, I grew up in a family of, normal family, two older brothers. We were Catholics. Went to Catholic schools, Catholic high school, Catholic grade school. My mother was took us to church a lot. Um, I got a lot out of the Catholicism in the sense of, the traditional concepts of Christianity. And actually, at one stage there, I think when I was maybe 7, 8, or 9, I thought of becoming a priest. I thought I had the idea, the sense of, what it'd be like to be a priest in the priesthood. And I figured out when it was 7 years of study or whatever, I didn't think it was a good idea. So I thought maybe I'll try something else. So what I knew when I was younger that I used to have a great dream. I still do have a very vivid dream life, and I used to dream a lot of going to places um, that I didn't really understand where they were, but I would see things and I would be instructed and stuff, and I never really realized. But what I did, I kept all these dreams in my head, like I had this virtual library in my head of these specific dreams that I had, and I kept them like it was like an imaginary library of books in my head. And some of them I've lost in memory, some of them I still remember, but I always had a vivid dream life. And when I became a teenager, I was sort of studying the Eastern religions. I remember when I was surfing a lot, I was living in a beach resort, working in a forest, and there was a Hare Krishna um, um, community nearby, and I'd go and chant with them. I didn't want to dress like them. I didn't want to involve myself fully, but I loved the voice and the chanting and the beads, and so I would chant the Hare Krishna mantra. I liked their food too; it was pretty good. Um, and then I got involved in other things, and I was studying the Buddhist religions, Buddhist philosophy. It's still involved in my teenage life. You know what teenagers do in those days, and still hanging around with kids and stuff and fooling around. Um, my mother passed away when I was 20 years old. She had an aneurysm. Um, and I remember in a dream that I saw her like 5 days later, and she was perfectly healthy, dressed in this white gown, and we embraced. She said, "Everything is fine." And it woke me up in my bed. It was such a heart charge to my chakra. I just was like, wow. It sort of woke me out of my sleep. And I knew that she was fine. I always knew she was fine. I always believed in life after death and reincarnation at the time as well. Um, then I started for a while there, I was traveling outside of my body. It started when I woke up one night. No, I was in a dream. That's right. I was outside of I dreamt I was sitting outside my apartment in a chair, which was outside. And I was sitting in this chair and I'm sitting there going like this, and I'm sitting there. And I started to think to myself in the dream, I'm dreaming. This is a dream. And all of a sudden, it's just like I was totally conscious where I was. And it was such a shock to me. I thought I was dead. I thought I died in my bed.
Mhm.
Anyway, I rose up through the air, went through the wall, landed back in my body in the bed, and I thought, wow, what happened? And I woke up, and that happened a few times after that. Just being in different places or floating through the air or coming back through the air through the roof of my house and landing back in my body. I don't do that anymore, but something was happening then. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but
From
I
when
just
from when to when? What age to what age? I'm just curious.
it was from probably 18 to 21. And I perceived it then as astral traveling. That's what it was called. I read a book about astral traveling. I thought, oh, this must be what's happening to me. Didn't
Okay.
quite understand it, but I obviously knew my body was just a vessel, my soul, my spirit, my essence, my I am presence, whatever you want to call it, was the essence of my being. And my body was just this vessel that I was, in this incarnation for using as a tool. Um, And then I went back
And
in my life again. I moved to Australia at the time, and I was working in the surfboard industry. And then I was out in the working in the outback of Australia, um, I wasn't pursuing any spiritual things at the time, just living a normal life of a guy like that. And I was working in the outback, and a friend that I was working with, he was really into yoga. He was a yoga teacher, yoga instructor. And he gave me this book, and it was one of the Summit Lighthouse books. It was The History of the Great White Brotherhood in North America, I think the title was, or something like that. And I read this book, and it was very interesting. There's this Guru Ma in her Guru Ma suit and the hair and everything, and there was some nice decrees in there, and I copied these decrees down in a notebook, and I would give them um, because I really felt that there's something powerful about spoken words, spoken decrees, rhythmic decrees at the time. I had a certain understanding of it, not quite to where it is now, but it was enough for me to pursue that. And I remember I had this book for a while. Then I had some time off, so I took a train back to the Sydney and the big city in Australia there. Went to a bookstore, and there's some more Summit Lighthouse books, and so I bought a copy of Climb the Highest Mountain, hardcover copy at the time. And this was a breakthrough because I was looking through this book and I was reading it, and I came across a picture of Paul the Venetian, this one with him. I think I've got one up here somewhere, with the roses around him, the portrait of
Yeah.
Paul the Venetian, the painting. And on the back of that page, it talks about if you make the call, you can go to his retreat and you'll see works of art, et cetera, et cetera. It goes into this whole thing. And I go, bang, I had this dream, the same dream that I had that I went. And this was the most vivid dream, one of the most vivid dreams I've ever had that I remembered from when I was way younger. And I dreamt that I went to this, I came to this beautiful garden, fountains, and there's this beautiful building. It's it's a chateau. I know it's a chateau now, but and it said that we were given the teaching that Paul the Venetian's retreat is actually an etheric retreat above this particular property in France. And in the dream, I dreamt that I was there and I saw this beautiful building and I was walking towards it. And I could sense there were people behind me that were guiding me. I couldn't see them. I didn't recognize anything, but I knew they were there. And I come to this door and the door swings open and I go into this beautiful building. And I'm looking around and I go through different, there's rooms of people doing artwork, playing piano mainly. There's people doing sculpture. There's just like this incredible artistry going on. And I dreamt that I was going up the staircase and I go to this beautiful room and there were a beautiful door and the doors swing open and the room is empty except the floor has got this incredible mandala on the floor, these circular rings. And it's like it's shimmering from underneath. It's like they're translucent and they're just shimmering. And I perceived it to be then a causal body image and was on the floor and it's just shimmering away. And I'm looking at this and then the dream just stopped. So I realized once I saw this description in this book, Climb the Highest Mountain, I realized this connection of what I'd seen and that sort of set me off on this path of these teachings of the Ascended Masters. And then it followed that with I remember some other dreams of going there again subsequent to that one. And I remember playing, I can play piano, I can play I can make up tunes and stuff. I have no knowledge of any musical notes or anything like that, but I can sit down and create something. And I'm a photographer now in a lot of ways too, and I do that. But I remember going to this retreat again and doing sculpture and then playing piano. And I was instructed that piano had something to do with pure mathematics, the divinity of geometry and stuff like that. And it was just incredible. And I remember seeing people there that I recognized. In particular, one of them was this really close friend of ours who was an art teacher at my high school. I went to a De La Salle college. It was just the brothers were teaching us there. And this particular lay teacher, um, I saw him there and he was playing piano and he was a music teacher as well, at school. And he was there. And I remember seeing him there. And I never got to tell him that because when I moved away from New Zealand, this is later in life, and he passed away not long ago, actually. When I was hoping that one day I could go back there and see him and somehow connect with that with him, but it never happened anyway. I'm sure he's moving on in other realms.
So wait, wait,
But
wait. So you're saying you saw when you had your visit to the etheric retreat at night in your sleep, where the masters are in the heaven world, you said you saw him at this art retreat of Paul
yeah,
and
I
his.
saw him there. He was actually there.
Oh,
This was in
okay.
another dream later on.
Oh,
I
oh,
had
okay.
subsequent dreams of going there again,
Yeah.
and he was there. It was just wonderful to see.
Mm-hmm.
He was there playing piano.
Mm-hmm.
So, I actually, as I said earlier, that we were taught that there is a physical retreat owned by a private family of that particular chateau. And so I started looking through photos of chateaus and that online in France. And I actually found one that I'm sure it matches exactly what I saw. I'll send you the photo when I can find it
Yeah.
here somewhere.
Oh, that'd be great.
It's and I'm pretty sure that's the place. It could be wrong, but
Yeah.
to me that's like the image of the chateau, this
Mm-hmm.
place that I
Mm-hmm.
saw before I walked into the building.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently, beyond that, I've had dreams of going to retreats. I've seen the Cave of Symbols and stuff like that, and
Do you want to
I've
describe
also had
that?
crappy dreams where you're in the astral plane. Of course, things like that happen. But
Yeah.
anyway, I'm blessed with that. I don't travel outside my body consciously anymore, which is probably a good thing. I don't know. Um, so then, yeah, so I'm in Australia. I I bought some more books and I'm sort of really into these teachings. Then I sort of went back to my life again of being a surfer guy and blah blah blah. Anyway, I decided, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go down to Sydney and get a job in a studio, photo studio, because I had a real um, hankering for photography, a real sense that that's what I wanted to do. So I went down to Sydney and I applied for this job. There's like 120 applicants, but I got this job in the studio, this big studio and big commercial studio as an assistant, and I was learning stuff there. It was great. And I'm in the city there. And then one day I'm walking around the city and I bump and I see these huge Chakra Man posters plastered all over the city.
Mhm.
And the guru messenger, the mother was stumping at the time. And I go, wow, this is ping. I connected that again. And this was just like at the the last day of her stump. So I managed to get to the last lecture of her stump there in Sydney. And I got the sealing of the third eye. I remember
Oh,
that.
good.
And then I thought to myself, wow, this is pretty amazing. Then she left. I guess the whole group left the city. And I sort of went back to my life again, the studio, that sort of yeah, culture, that fashion and things what were going on. And then I was just like drawn and I thought, oh God, I've had enough. And I thought, I've got to go to find out the group here. There's got to be a group here somewhere, a teaching center. Sure enough, there's a teaching center that was in Sydney at the time. So I went to the first healing service and I just took off from there. It was like, wow. And by the grace of God, 6 months later, I was living in the teaching center on staff there. And that was it was a fantastic time. The teachings, the decrees, the services we were doing. It's a beautiful house. It was called Aurora House. Mother gave it that name because there was this big aurora around it she saw.
Well,
And it was just a wonderful time. 2 or 3 years, I think it was there. We were doing outreach as well, a lot of outreach.
yeah.
And it was just I was like on a rocket ship of these teachings. It was just I was so embraced with it all.
How old are
And I
you
thought
now?
I've got to get to SU, Summit University. And I saw a video of the ranch and the people there, and I'm going, these are my people. These are my friends. I know these people from lifetimes. I just had that sense, and I've got to go there. So I went to 1988. I went to the first quarter of SU. It was the seven Chohan's quarter.
Yeah.
And then I stayed on to for a conference preparation for the July class in the Heart of the Inner Retreat. And that was a
Mhm.
wonderful time. And I thought, oh my God, it's just so beautiful. I'm going to stay here. And of course, I had to go back because my visa was running out. So I went back to the teaching center. And I'm just going, oh God, I just, how can I go back there and work there? I know, I'm not a resident. I don't have a green card, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going like that. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just resigned to being here in Canada and sorry, in Australia at the time. And I was okay with that. And then I got a call from Marilyn Barrett, God bless her. And she said, the mother tells me that Almoria wants you on staff. And I was going, oh, yeah, I was so happy. I remember I was just like, started selling all my stuff and, tying up all loose ends in my life. And I'm going to the ranch. I'm going to go work there and be with my friends and be on staff. And oh, I'm so happy. So I did everything and I flew over there and I arrived at the ranch and then mother says, you can't work here. You don't have a green card. You've got to go to SU again. So I go, okay, well, okay, fine. And it was a Montessori quarter. I think it was like 3 months long. And I go, well, I don't know. I guess I have to do that. So I went to Montessori quarter. And it was interesting. I didn't want to become a Montessori teacher, but it's great for understanding education and children and your own inner child as well. So, it was wonderful for me. It was a wonderful 3 months. And then the 3 months was coming to an end. The quarter was coming to an end. So what was going on then? The shelter cycle was starting, of course, yeah. And I thought, oh, I've got to go work with my friends in the shelter cycle. Like my great friends are up there in construction. Oh, yeah, I want to go do that. But I couldn't. So then there was this, I mean, you know the story, what was happening then, there were a lot of marriages that had happened at the time. People were sort of, you know, some people are still married. Anyway, I met a girl there. There was a great attraction, and it was funny. God, it was a crazy. I tell people about this story. I tell my kids about this, and they think, oh, that's pretty weird what was going on. But it was part of life, part of the divine plan, I think, at the time. There's some people have different thoughts about the shelter cycle right now, but I have no regrets about anything. My time there was, I'm just so grateful for it. Anyway, I ended up getting married. Um, and then I was on staff and I was up at the shelter cycle working with the guys up there. It was a very busy time. It was quite intense. And then I had to go to Seattle with my wife at the time to sort out some immigration issues that the church was having. But I went there and got my green card and everything. Um, Working in Seattle for a while, and then came back to the ranch. And of course, having a hankering for art things and photography and video, I started working in the AV department.
Mhm.
And that was my choice, my where I wanted to be. So, doing camera work and actually stumping with mother. So we went, all over the US, I think at the time, Chicago, Atlanta, uh, Minneapolis, a few other places. We'd drive down there in the trucks and set up the equipment. And of course, at the conferences. And I started leading decrees as well. And I just really had this it's this hankering in my body that I've done this before, this in my soul that I'd led decrees or I'd been doing mantras in past lives or whatever. So I was leading decrees a lot, and I just was really getting into that. It's really and then a really involvement, really an emotional connection to these decrees and my God and myself and my own presence. And it was a wonderful experience for me. I'm so grateful for that. 1996 came along and the church was restructuring. And so I resigned from the staff and I went down to LA for a little while. I was working there, really missing the ranch and the valley and people there. And, Los Angeles wasn't that great for me. So I came back to the valley and I was working in up Paradise Valley there and leading decrees a lot back and forth on the ranch, really involved still with the church, of course. Oh, sorry. At that time, yeah, my a couple of years before I left the ranch, my wife and I, the marriage did not work, and I talked to mother about it, and she said it's up to me what I want to do. So I said, My wife didn't want to stay there. She was having problems with the teachings and things going
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
So we separated, got divorced. She went off on her way, God bless her. Um, and I stayed
Are,
there.
are your children with her?
No, no children at all. So there was
Oh,
no
okay,
problem.
okay. Mm, yeah.
And I went to the local store and got a divorce paper, which a form you fill out, and we both signed
Mhm.
that, got it signed off by Justice of the Peace or whatever, and went to the courthouse, and that was it, done. And so I was at the ranch for a while, then went to LA, came back, working on the valley, leading decrees, really involved with everything else there. And then 1997 came along, and there was the first conference in San Diego, one of Mother's last conferences. I think it might have been the last. Not, no, that wasn't quite the last. Um, I drove down there to do photography and some video work. Um, not on staff at the time, but I was working for the church per se. Um, and I went down there and I met my wife, who I'm married to now.
Good,
She was
good.
taken down there. She had no sense of the teachings, but a friend of hers who was in the teachings said, "Like, come with me down to this conference, spiritual conference."
Mhm.
So I went down there, met this lady, Julie, my wife, and I was there like for 2 weeks, I think. No, I was there for a week. That's right. And I met her. She stayed on for SU with her friend from Canada. I went back to Montana. I went back to the valley, working at the ranch, leading decrees, doing services, working in the valley there. And we corresponded back and forth when she arrived back in Canada. And in in April of 98, I flew up to Canada and we reunited again. And I wasn't quite sure. She was a bit younger than me. Anyways, she asked me to marry her, basically. Like what happened? And I have no embarrassment about saying that because I wasn't sure at the time. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. So I flew back to Canada. I flew back to flew back to the valley, Paradise Valley, sorted out my stuff. She came down for the conference in 98, July.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I loaded up my car with all my stuff and she was in the car with me. We drove back to Ottawa, um, got married. Yeah. And then Mother came to Ottawa for a conference there in the October class. I think it was 1998. Yeah. And I think that was the last conference she did, if I believe that's right. Yeah. And yeah. So we had a teaching center there, a study group and a teaching center. I think it was a study group at the time. Yeah. And I was very involved with that and the teachings. And
Is that
we,
where you are now? Canada?
yeah, I'm living in
Oh,
Canada,
okay.
living in the province of Quebec, just across the river from Ottawa, the capital.
Oh, okay.
Um, So still leading services, and then we were doing prayer vigils across Canada. We were doing the City Four Square prayer vigils all across Canada. Then down in we were doing prayer vigils in did New York as well, leading decrees in New York and McAllen, Texas, Minneapolis, a bunch of other places, Vancouver, everywhere. Even in Paris, I remember I did it. We did a prayer vigil in Paris, and that was 2007, I think it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was a wonderful experience. We could really sense the presence of Saint Germain there during that conference. It was put on by it was organized by the Spanish study group, actually, Spanish Teaching Center, Barcelona, I think it was. Yeah. And so I was traveling around. Then I started, we're doing live services every month from the Montreal Teaching Center.
Mhm.
Um, very involved with that for a while. Montreal Teaching Center sort of closed down. It just wasn't being supported enough, and the rent was way up, and what if things are happening like that. Um, but and I
Do,
haven't
do,
done any
do,
prep. Sorry.
would you want to stop a moment? Just I would like people to know what some of the things they might not understand. You mentioned teaching center, study group. There are other things they might understand too. Decrees, I am presence. Yeah.
Well, it's these are the teachings that we are we have an I am presence, a Holy Christ self, and we are in physical embodiment to balance our karma, work out a divine plan. The ascended masters are the ascended masters who have overcome time and space. They've made their ascensions. There's so many ascended masters that we know of and many we don't know of. You can talk about El Morya, Saint Germain, Kuthumi, Dwakul, Paul the Venetian. There's so many others. Mother Mary, Jesus. Um, I could just sit here all day and name ascended masters, but these are the ones who have gone on and they are giving us these teachings. The violet flame is an incredible tool. The
What
decrees
is it?
are worded formulas. They are mathematically um, divinely instructed. Our thoughts, our speech is the word. The spoken word is an incredible tool. These are prayers that go beyond the prayers of the institutional religions that we have these days. These are rhythmic decrees that they go way back in time. The mantras of the East. It's incredible. It's just such a smorgasbord of these tools that we have for freedom for ourselves. And I guess these days, to me, um, what I know is that I have an I am presence, and this I am presence is my God, my myself, my this is the thing that I need to reunite with. This is the thing that I call to. This is the essence of who I am. My I am presence, my holy Christ self. It's like all for one and one for all. These are everybody's I am presence is connected with everybody else's I am presence. It's a one canopy of light from the great central sun. And it's funny. I think of my understanding of these teachings and my spiritual path these days, and I know that I'm just touching the surface of what the whole reality of life is and the whole reality of the universal structure of the Godhead. It's amazing. Um, you know, and I think of what I know now, and as opposed to what I knew when I was a teenager, I've come miles and miles ahead in understanding myself. Yet I think of the ascended masters and I think of, cosmic beings and where they are at. And it's just such an adventure that we're on. They talk about climb the highest mountain.
Mhm.
And you get there, and I know there's mountains out there. There are other mountains to climb. And we look at the universe and the structure and these suns that are, and um, galaxies that are everywhere. And life goes on. And, people, I was talking to an atheist the other day and someone who thinks that, this is it, this planet here, we have one life and then we just dust. And what do I care if I die? I'm not going to be having regrets because I'm not going to exist. I don't, no thoughts, no existence, dust, dust, whatever. And I'm thinking it's so sad in a lot of ways. Actually, atheists sort of they're very interesting people. But yeah, anyway, these teachings, I'm just so grateful for these teachings. It's given me life, it's given me purpose, it's given me direction,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it keeps the gift that keeps on giving. And just look at the violet flame, for instance, the essence of the violet flame and what it does. And you go into the structure of the violet flame and the decrees and how it frees up the substance within you and frees up, concepts and rigidity and physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, the whole structure of your containers. It's an incredible tool. The emerald ray, the blue ray, Archangel Michael, he saved me so many times. Archangel Michael, the decrees. And it's sometimes I seem to forget that and I seem to neglect the angelic hosts that are around us that we call, they're waiting for our calls,
Mhm.
they're waiting for our calls, instruct us, give us something to do, give us some direction. What do you need? And, help me. And it's like, yeah, I just started to call to the angels again. I forgot about the angels. Um, it's an incredible life. My
Mhm.
wife is still really much involved with helping people. She's on another path of helping women who have been abused
Mhm.
and
Good.
creating organizations to help women like that. And
Hmm.
she's very a great devotee of Mother Mary and Kuan Yin in that sense. From the Rosary, it just so much helps her. And the Rosary, of course, we know that it invokes the violet flame as well. And I've seen great miracles with their own healing through these decrees and through the violet flame and the teachings. And it's a wonderful life. But I would hope that anyone who wants a greater understanding of their own spiritual destiny and who they really are,
Hmm.
to seek the teachings of the Ascended Masters, to seek the advice of the hosts of light through these teachings, through Mother's teachings, the books, the incredible books that we have. I've got so many of these hardbound pearls of wisdom, and I'm just sitting there, and I never get time to really read them. And then the books, the Climb the Highest Mountain books, the whole episodes of those incredible teachings.
So
Kathumi's book.
what organization are you talking about? You
I'm
mentioned
talking about the
Katumi.
Summit Lighthouse, the Church
Okay.
Universal Triumphant, and the teachings of through Elizabeth Clare Prophet and the Ascended Masters that have instructed these teachings and the
Mhm.
decrees. I mean, it's an incredible thing. Um, the thing about these teachings, it encompasses every essence of truth of all the world's teachings. And it's interesting about Christianity. I really admire people that live a Christian life, the Catholics, the fundamentalists, and doing great works community-wise, living a good life. Having said that, though, it's a real tragedy that this understanding of Jesus and the one Savior, that you can pass all of your acute karma or sins, so-called, to this Godhead, to Jesus Christ, to this ascended Master, and they'll be wiped out in this one life that we have. It's a real tragedy because it just creates obscurity to this whole period of this adventure that we have of lifetimes after lifetimes, and hopefully, finally to have that win the victory of your ascension. And
What
it's
is
a
that?
it's such a shame. And the concept of uh, the denial of reincarnation and karma, which are the basic fundamental, these two pillars of our existence, of what we have.
Hmm.
It's such a tragedy in a sense. It's almost a cruel way. But having said that, I know some wonderful Christian people, great-hearted people doing such wonderful work, praying the way they pray. And I have no problem with that. It's such a wider view. There's such a great adventure through these teachings that to be had. Um, and,
Unlimited.
yeah, it's a real shame, but that's life the way it is. But and I
You
look at it, I
mentioned.
look at the teachings, I look at the people that are on this path of the ascended masters, and compared to the totality of the world population, it seems pretty minuscule. But we are told that it's not the quantity, but it's the quality. And I know that. And I know these decrees are so powerful when given with your full heart and mind and soul, and especially in a group setting. They can create waves of change across this planet, and I've seen it happen. And we look at what's happening in the world right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of turmoil, but there's a lot of hope. And I know that there is a golden age coming. I know there is a golden age to this planet. I know it's going to happen. It may take some time because there's a lot of debris, personal and planetary, that needs to be transmuted and changed, and a lot of concepts need to be rearranged, and politically, and with the world itself, the whole world as a structure. But I know it's happening. You can see it starting to happen. You can see the seeds of it happening. And the seeds have been there for a long time, but you can really see it. But it starts here. It starts with your individual self. You have to be right with God in yourself. Um, and I work in a place of 60, there's 60 or 70 people where I work. I'm a supervisor in this place. And I see a lot of crudity there. I see a lot of people that are just, you know, living a gross life in the sense of, their food and their thoughts and their habits. But it's interesting. I can see a lot of change happening, and I can see people think, that I'm somehow different. I'm somehow, you know, I know I'm an influence there, and I know that, I'm not there spouting off the teachings because it's not a place to do that. But I do speak to people in some ways that where you try and reach people where they are, and it happens sometimes. And I know that I'm a sense of change there. It could be inner change that's maybe even not noticeable in the outer, but I know that's happening, and it's just where we are. We emanate our light. Of course, we have to be cognizant of how our light is emanated and where we interact with people, but contain yourself and be mindful of that. But I know it happens. Um, I didn't mention, of course, with my wife, we've had 4 children, ranging in ages from 14 to 25. Yeah, 3 girls and a boy. 2 of them are still at home. One living in Spain right now. One lives in Montreal. The 2 older girls, and the young girl and the guy here. But they're not embracing these teachings per se, but they know and they see and they respond. And you can see it with the older girls too, that the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the example that my wife and I have given over the years, and they've come to services with us and been baptized in this church and things like that. But teenagers can be teenagers, and they live their own lives, and they learn, and they evolve, and they gravitate to wherever their divine plan should be taking them. But it's the foundation and the seed that we see that is productive, and it's good to see in them. And I think that I know with a lot of other parents in the teachings and their children, the same thing. I know the same thing can happen too, and I've seen it happen before. You may not think, okay, well, it'd be nice if they were decreeing with us and going to services or doing the teachings, whatever. But you know that the seed has been planted, and they know that the parents praying for them, and they know, my eldest daughter, she has a decree book, and some of the decrees she gives them, mainly in times of stress and strife and trouble, but
Yeah.
whatever. And we pray for them, pray for their safety, pray for their healing, pray for their enlightenment. And we see that it works as we pray for the rest of humanity. That's the thing with the Iron Presence. You can pray to your Iron Presence to make the call for every Iron Presence in the world, and it's like this antakanara of light. You know, you pray for the protection of people driving across the planetary body, worlds without ends, and that call is made, and it goes out. It's a wonderful tool.
You
Um,
mentioned something.
oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
What about you mentioned something? I don't want to end on something negative, but you mentioned the astral plane. Do you want to share what that is?
Yeah, sure. I know about the astral plane because I've been there because, in younger days, doing things that teenagers do, smoking this or drinking something or whatever, and you end up dreaming of these, pretty sordid sort of things. You end up somewhere and getting attacked. I
In
was
your
always a
dreams?
dream. I was always a lucid. Yeah, you could
Yeah,
see entities and things, and I was a lucid dreamer, and I still am. I can, if I'm ever in a place like that, which hardly ever happens ever again, but I can just say, okay, I got to get out of here. I'm dreaming. I'm out. Wake up.
yeah.
I'm gone. And it's happened. And alcohol, the marijuana thing, the whole system of the movies, the destructive movies, the horror movies, and things like that. Even really poor food choices. Um, and you can end up in the astral plane. The astral plane is like the lowest emotional plane there is, I think, and it's like it's a whole suppository, it's not suppository, depository of human effluvia, every sort of mass mind consciousness of negative things, structures you could think of, and it's there. And quite often a lot of people end up there and when they pass away from the screen of life because they don't have that wind in their sails, the light in their sails. They don't have that structure in their life that keeps them above that. And if
And what
people are
would they
ending up
do?
in, yeah, if people end up in these negative dreams, quite
Hmm.
often it's a horrible thing happening or something really ghastly or who knows what. If you go to a horror movie, watch a horror movie, you're sucking all those imageries in through your chakras, and you contain that structure, that thing in your body, and you go to sleep, and you probably end up in a place where something like that will outplay itself. And it's a real negative thing. I've seen it when I was younger. I remember seeing some horrible stuff in the astral plane, and um, when I was traveling outside of my body, I don't know. I don't know to this day whether I was in the astral plane when I was consciously traveling out of my body. Maybe I was, but I didn't see anything negative at the time. I was just floating through the air and floating through walls and whatever. But I don't do that anymore, which I think is probably a good thing. I don't know what was happening at the time. Maybe God was showing me that, I wasn't really my body. I didn't think I was at the time, but um, I wasn't at that time. I wasn't on any hallucinogenics or anything. I was actually, I was living a pretty straight life, but I don't know why it was happening at the time, but it was. But young people these days, just the culture of social media and just the whole um, effluvia that's flying at them that they see on their phones and the internet and whatever. There's so much more. There's so much beauty in life. Um, I went to an art gallery today. I go to the National Gallery of Canada, which is in Ottawa here, and I'm a member there. And so I went there this morning. I like to go there early in the morning so I walk around by myself because it reminds me of an etheric retreat because it's got this huge stone walls and 100-foot ceilings, and it's like you're walking in an etheric retreat. And there's these beautiful artworks everywhere, and classical paintings of Monet's and Renoir and whatever. Then you go into the modern art section, and there's these horrible sculptures and
Hmm.
square-looking things. There's a painting; it's just one color,
Hmm.
and it's like huge. It's like 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet, and it's like this. It's worth $1 million or something. It's just like, what is this stuff? And it's just so mechanical looking and dead and no life. And you learn to develop that sense of what is beautiful and what is etherically beautiful and what is divinic, what is divinely inspired and structured, as opposed to this sort of mechanical. Yeah, it's a shame, and it's we see it all over the place. But I always had that sense, but I think some people can develop that if they learn to really look at who they are and their God self, and you divest yourself of the attraction or the magnetism to these sort of things. Same with books, same with the movies.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like just be careful of what you let into your consciousness. It does have an effect. It really does. I don't know what else I could say. I mean, life goes on, but like I said, I am so grateful. I have such a gratitude for my time at the ranch and on staff there. It was just an incredible, sometimes it was really hard. They're just going through your own stuff that came up and things that were happening, but I have no regrets. And the friends that I made there, and many of them I just was reconnecting with after lifetimes, and I've still so many good friends, people that I know yourself. I see the people on staff are there now and the friends that are not on there anymore, but even people that have left the church, I'm still friends with, I still have connections with. Um, it's not a problem at all. It really is a community of light bearers. There's so many people out there that need these teachings that really are looking to with the meaning of life and who they are, and they're going through stuff. And um, I cannot advocate more to these teachings. It's just so wonderful. Seriously, there.
What should
It's
they
like a
start
life
with?
changer. It's a life-saving
Sure,
thing.
absolutely.
Yeah, for me.
What would you recommend they start with?
Um, there's so many things. I mean, if you go to the church website, Summit Lighthouse, tsl.org, Summit Lighthouse, there's so many wonderful things that are happening there now. And I'm looking at the videos that are happening, especially the young people. They're throwing stuff up there, and then there's YouTube videos, but there's so many free instructive. You can download some ebooks there, I think, as well. I would really look at the prayers, look at the decrees. The violet flame is just such a wonderful thing to start with. But there's basic teachings there, and there's books you can download or you can buy them in bookstores. But there's the little pocket books, wonderful. There's just so clearly instructive and simply put out there. Um, there's so many. I mean, the books are incredible. There's just like I've got so many of these books put away and some of them around the place, but um, the Pearls of Wisdom. It's interesting when I went my first, the time I saw Mother give a live serve. I mean, I was really into it then, but Kuan Yin was my first dictation, and so I have this real affinity to her and Paul the Venetian, of course, but all the Ascended Masters, Saint Germain. I mean, what could I say? Who's my favorite? Who's my most influential? Archangel Michael, Almoria, Cathemi, Michael. Oh, it goes on and on. Um, but yeah, I just there's so much. I would go to the website, start there, summitlighthouse.org. Incredible teachings on there. And like I said, some of the there's one YouTube channel that's up there. Some young girl, or she's not maybe not young, I don't know.
Mhm.
Forget her name,
Simone.
but I'm sorry.
Simone.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff too, but this is what we were trying to do with AV when I was working in the AV department. We didn't have the software in those days or the capabilities of doing a lot of stuff at the time. But I always thought it would be great to have these animations and things happening. And then we see them now because, you've got all this wonderful equipment and things to do stuff like that with. But it's great to see that people are picking up on that. There's so many ways to get these teachings out to people, to reach the younger people, especially the youth, the
Yeah.
teenagers. That's where you really want to get to.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
of course, the elderly. I see people in these retirement homes and they're sort of just, wasting away there or whatever. And my wife, she sometimes goes to retirement homes and does with a guy who plays violin, he plays classical violin to these people and she sort of cheers them up. And I've gone there and done photography too sometimes, but I always thought um, showing these people these teachings, but as people get older, maybe they'd have more of a sort of you know, a consciousness a little contained and don't really want to open up their vista of too much. But if you're going to be closing in your years of life and ready for your transition, to have those wind in your sails to get to the etheric octave, to the etheric retreats,
Mhm.
rather than you know swimming around with the astral plane, whatever, it'd be a great thing to be able to do. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a lot of ways of meeting people at different stages of life. Same again, go to the website, Summit Lighthouse, but there's a lot of things could happen. Got to keep praying.
Yeah.
But like I said, the golden age is coming. The golden age is imminent. And it's already there in the etheric. The city four square is there, ready to be lowered. That blueprint is there. It
Mhm.
exists. It exists. It'll take some time.
Yeah.
It's interesting when I first came to these teachings and I started to understand about the golden age. I used to think, wow, teachings are here, great. If the golden age is like going to happen in my lifetime, it's going to happen, the next 10 years after the shelter cycle, this, that, and the other. But no, it's definitely coming. It's like our perception of time and space and timelines is a little constricted. The ascended masters look on a long-term view of
Mhm.
things, and I know that we have a very instrumental job ourselves, yourself, myself, and anyone else that has been involved in these teachings for a while, to keep the flame burning and to hold the balance for a lot of things that are happening on the earth. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Just one last question would be, just to sum it all up, what do you most want people to know?
Know that you have a God presence. You have an I am presence. You have a Holy Christ self. You have a physical body, which is just the vessel. It's like the car that you drive that, you buy this new car, whatever, it'll wear out one day. You have these other containers. You have your etheric body, your mental, your emotional body. You have a soul. You're here for a purpose. You're here for a divine plan. Your purpose could be anything. It could be something so what you perceive as inconsequential to the earth, but it's actually your divine plan, what you're here to work out. You have karma to balance from previous lifetimes. Um, that sounds like a lot. That sounds like a great burden, but in reality, it's not because you have the help of the Ascended Masters. You have the help of these Ascended Masters and their teachings through the Summit Lighthouse. And there are Buddhist teachings, there are other teachings of other realms and structures that are very helpful and instrumental in people's lives, and it's great to see that. But I really think that the Ascended Masters who work through other organizations as well, but primarily through the structure of these teachings, through the structure of the decrees, the violet flame, you can free yourself of a lot of these things in your life. You can have a greater understanding and open up your consciousness to who you really are, who the essence of you who is, who and why you are here,
Mhm.
and realize that there are tools and there are structures to elevate yourself in consciousness, to balance your karma, and primarily to make your ascension. We've been here for a long time. We've been here for multiple lives, been through multiple episodes and dramas and structures. We've had lives that we could be doing great things and lives where we might have just, flayed around and fooled around and, taken a breather or whatever we might have been doing. But now is the time. Now is the time to really become conscious of who you really are. So that's why I'm here. That's where I've come to in this stage of my life. I have, and I'm looking ahead and I'm looking ahead to my ascension. God, God blesses me, hopefully that I'll make my ascension in this life. Um, and that's just the beginning of life. Life begins, they say life begins at 40. I think life begins at your ascension.
Mhm.
I think that really there's just a universe out there. Who knows what? I've made the vow that I'm going to stick with this planet until every last soul. I made the Bodhisattva vow with Kuan Yin. I'm going to stick with this planet until every last soul is made. Who is to make their ascension makes their ascension and makes their transition out of this realm of life and death and rebirth. So I love this planet. We're here. And remember what Sana Kamara said? He said the victory of this planet will be like a fulcrum of a victory, an orb of victory that he would run to other systems of worlds with. This is from a dictation. I'm trying to not verbatim, but he would take this victory of this planet and the golden age to other systems of worlds and show them what a bunch of people, a bunch of souls can do. And we know this planet is a proving ground for a lot of things, and there's a lot of um, a lot of different souls and different evolutions that are here, which explains why it's in such a turmoil in a lot of ways. But
Yeah. Yeah.
this planet on a cosmic scale, we think, oh, this planet is just a tiny speck in this huge universe. But on a cosmic scale, the victory of this planet means so much to this universe and to the systems of worlds and other systems of worlds. We don't quite understand exactly what the intent of this in its tonality, but it's like, wow, I think it's a great. We are here,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we are going to win. And there's a lot of people that are coming with us. There's a lot of souls. There's so many souls out there that need to be reached. It's an ongoing project. We know that we've known this for years. We've reached lots of souls. Like I said, with my kids, they're not going to embrace these teachings in tonality or in its totality, or they're not going to, run to the nearest teaching center or start leading, doing lots of decrees or whatever. But we put seeds in their souls, and so that's all we can do. But some people just will erupt, and then, like I said, when I first found these teachings, I thought, "Wow, I'm off! Nothing's going to stop me." And I bang.
Mhm.
I'm full bore here. I'm just signing up for everything. And that's what I did. That's what I hope that everyone else will do. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful. So what about you?
I just want as many people to get an opportunity to hear truth so that they can, if they're not in alignment with it, they can get in alignment with it so their souls can be raised and saved. And saved is self-elevation, elevation into your God self. It's the same
So
goal.
yeah. So where are you now? You're in what city?
Uh, a suburb of Philadelphia,
Oh, okay.
Pennsylvania.
So is there a teaching center there, a study group?
Yeah, yeah. We have Philadelphia has a teaching center.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
We don't have one here. We had one that
Mhm.
dissolved for lack of excuse me, lack of participants. And the one in Montreal, we had trouble getting young people into into the structure of the teaching center there. And there was just a bunch of elderly people and it sort of just fizzled away. But
Mhm.
in its time, it was a wonderful place. We we were doing live services from there every month. We'd do a Saturday service, Sunday we do Saint Germain service and a midday service, and I'd go there once a month and lead the services. But we having said that, there's still people in this community that still are strong with everything. Oh, Bobby, saying goodbye to my wife. Um, there's still people in this community that are strong in their teachings and strong with their spiritual lives. So we get together sometimes, but uh, yeah, no study group here itself. I know, but I do. Part of my job is I built the three websites: the Le Faire du Summit, which is the French teachings of the website, plus the Church Universal Triumphant of Canada, the two websites.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I monitor those and I do the upgrade up. I add teachings each month to the French website, and we have a monthly newsletter that goes out
Mhm.
worldwide. Um, the pri the most of the Subscribers to the email newsletter, the French one, yeah, they're all in the Congo. Would you believe? There's a
Mhm.
great group of people there. And a lot of people are reading to the teachers in the Congo, but the rest of them all over the world, France, all over the place, Canada, USA, um, any French-speaking people, they get this newsletter once a month. So I build the websites and I do the coding and everything else for all the other upgrades every month. But I don't speak
Great.
French.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
No, we have a Reverend Lufchuk in Montreal who does the translations
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Pearls of Wisdom and stuff like that. There's a group
Mhm.
of people that actually do the translate all the Pearls of Wisdom into French, and those get published on the website.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Great.
and she's working there. She's doing wonderful work
Mhm.
for the teachings there. Yeah,
It's good.
yeah.
Great.
But I wasn't really into languages, but my kids are all bilingual because my wife is French and the kids are all bilingual, totally bilingual, which is great.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could have invited your wife to say hello, but that's too late
She
now.
has to go to a meeting. She's
Yeah.
actually doing
Okay.
one of her meetings right now. She took off.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's my life. But yeah, great life. I love my life.
Yeah. Oh,
Here's my sword that it's
yeah.
interesting that I was given that in Paris when I went to I did a letter of privilege there run by the Barcelona Study Group Teaching Center. And I know Saint Germain was instrumental in giving me that. And we did a lot of decrees there, a lot of violet flame, trying to clear the records of France and whatever that was going on at the time. And I remember during a break of the decrees, I went for a walk by myself near the Eiffel Tower, and I came upon this group of there was like 500 Christians there. There was some Christian group, and they were singing
Mhm.
songs around this amphitheater place. So I went in there and I started singing with them, and I felt like I was really transmitting this violet flame to this group of people, and it was just an incredible experience. I actually filmed it all on my phone. Um, but I knew I was led there because someone said, "Oh, let's go for a walk around Paris." and all these guys. And I said, I want to go by myself. I just needed to be by myself. And I ended up with this group of people, the young people. There must have been 500 people there. And I know Saint Germain was instrumental. He was working through me when I was there. I could just feel it. Could feel the violet flame. And it was a wonderful experience. Anyway, they gave me this sword when I left and was like, wow, my Saint Germain sword.
You earned it.
Yeah, I think so. So I use that in decree sessions sometimes, but not much. It's too big.
Yeah, it's
Hits
great.
the wall.
Um,
I don't know. Is there anything else I could say? If you have any more questions, I'm quite open to them.
well, we could always do a part two. I think we
Absolutely.
should, yeah, I think we should end for now, and maybe consider definitely a part two.
Yeah, anytime. It's good for me to express this out again. And like I said, I wrote down this timeline of where I started, way back when I was a kid in New Zealand and what started everything for me and how and I just realized how grateful I am for everything that I've been through. And here I am and still have life to live. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for these teachings. You know yourself how where you'd be without these teachings. Yeah, I looked at my Catholicism and Catholic church, Catholic high school, and all that sort of stuff, and I was questioning that, and I was going, this, one life. What's my soul like? My soul is, what's purgatory? What are these people that never, the natives out in the bush that never seen Jesus? How are they going to be saved? What happens to them? I had all these questions. I still have multiple questions about the universe and many things, but I know that, the inquiring mind will just get too much sometimes and just there's so much out in front of me right now, but I'm happy about it. And God bless you for doing what you're doing. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're married, you're with somebody. What's happening with you?
Maybe we'll end it here and I'll tell you.
Okay.
Okay. God bless you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
Okay.